I'm John Reeves with RePoint Real Estate, and I'm here to talk about our buyer presentation and the keys to success for the way we do our buyer presentation. So, first thing is, when we do a buyer presentation, it's broken down into 3 segments. The first segment is the rapport building or the buyer profile. So that is where we sit down and we take down a detailed and thorough list of all the things that a home buyer is looking for and why. And the important thing is why. So the beginning is a buyer profile and also a rapport building. The second portion of our home buyer presentation is what I call the demonstration of knowledge, or DOK. The demonstration of knowledge, which you will see on the PowerPoint slide, actually goes through and discusses what it is they need to know about the current conditions of the home market and the current process of how to buy a home. And the last portion is the demonstration of value. Demonstration of value is where you actually demonstrate as a real estate agent all the things that you're going to do to protect them as they go through a transaction. It's also the opportunity for you to address their major concerns in the buyer profile. Now, you'll also do some of that in the demonstration of knowledge as well, but a huge portion of that is the questions and the concerns they have here are going to be addressed in the demonstration of value. So the 3 parts: the buyer profile and the rapport building, demonstration of knowledge, and the demonstration of value. By the time that's over, you should have no problem convincing a buyer to transact with you, because you're the one who has the homes, and you're the one who has the knowledge, and you're the one who has shown them the most value. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off just like I have 2 home buyers. Greg and Sarah Zane are going to be my practice guinea pigs. The only thing I don't have in here that we'll have to run and grab here in a second is our white binder, the demonstration of value. So, Becky, if you could grab that, it is the white binder has my face on it. I'm going to go through all the keys to success throughout the entire presentation. Now, when you're giving a buyer presentation, it is a very fluid and dynamic conversation. It is not a robotic list like I'm taking an order at the Outback Steakhouse, because we are not order takers, we are professionals. So, the first thing I want to hammer in on is this: our universal callback script. Somebody is going to book you an appointment, or you're going to book an appointment with the universal callback script. Now, the last portion where we make the offer is, would you like to receive lists of all the homes out there? They're going to say yes. If they don't say yes, there's a problem. That means they're not really looking at houses. But we make the offer of we want to show you homes. Then they're going to say yes to that, and as a result, we say, great, when is a good time we can get together for 20 or 30 minutes? That 20 or 30 minutes is where we go through the buyer profile. Now, this buyer presentation is a lot longer than 20 or 30 minutes, but this portion should only take you 20 or 30 minutes. So at the conclusion of this, you will ask them, do you want to see some more information that's critical to your success, or are you okay leaving? Most of the time, 99.9%, they're going to say, yes, let me see what else you have to offer. But on the phone, the universal callback script is being utilized to get them into the office, so you, as the professional, can take down a thorough understanding of what it is they want. So, we're going to pretend like this buyer presentation right now has been booked in advance, and they're in the office, because that's where the best buyer presentation is going to go. And facts can show that, and history will show that the best place to do a buyer presentation is you bringing a client into the office in a professional setting and going over how, or the steps to success to buying a house. So we're going to pretend in this example that Sarah Zane and Greg Lohorn are our buyers who are buying their first home together. All right, so let's go ahead and kick this off. So first thing I do is we bring them in. Now, it's very important, the body positioning. When you have a male and female in a room or in a setting, you always sit across from the woman. You never sit straight up on a male, because if you're a guy, because that is a show of confrontation. If you ever go head up, squared up on a male, there's a little tingling feeling that happens in the back of a guy's head. It's just not right. So you always are going to sit head up on the woman, because a woman builds trust if you're straight up face to face on her, and you're going to be offset from the male. Now, if it's just one guy and it's Greg, then instead of me sitting straight up squared on him, I would just turn my body a little bit so we're not confrontational and squared up. Keys to success of when you meet face to face with people. Now you're also going to tell them where to sit, because if you don't tell them where to sit, you may have someone back in the back corner over there. So you're going to say, why don't you sit here and you sit over here. That way you position them the way you want them to, because you're running the meeting. You're the professional. You're going to sit them where they need to sit. So, all right. So now I've got my two buyers. We'll roll through this. This is the last time I'm going to interject in. I'm going to literally run through this like it's a real buyer presentation. So let's switch the hat around and go. All right. Hey guys, great to meet you. Thanks for coming in today. I know you spoke to one of our partners on the phone about the potential of buying a house. So first thing we always do is we go through what we call a buyer profile. The buyer profile is an attempt for us to really get a firm understanding of exactly what it is you guys are seeking in a house. Now there's some deep questions in here. It's not just like a typical order taker agent who's just going to come in, ask for bedrooms and bathrooms. That's the easy stuff. We're going to do all that at the very end. But we're really going to ask you some deeper questions. We want to understand your long-term strategy and your goals. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
The first thing I'll say is, where are you guys from?
Well, we just moved here from the East Coast. He's been stationed out there for a
Oh,
while.
great. So you're active duty Navy.
Absolutely. Yep.
Fantastic. And where you're from? Where?
Originally, I'm from the South.
Oh, great. What part?
Tennessee.
Oh, great. Tennessee's a fantastic state.
Yeah.
I'm from Texas originally. I came out here in the Marine Corps, but Tennessee is the reason that Texas became a free
That's
country.
true.
So that's cool to know. And Greg, what is it that you're in the U.S. Navy?
I am. I'm an ensign in the Navy right now. I just came from the Naval Academy, moved out here to San Diego.
Oh, congratulations! I remember that. I did that 10 years ago. I remember that.
It's a good time.
It is. It's a great time. You're in a great place.
Absolutely.
There's a lot worse places you could be than San Diego, California.
Yeah. Agreed.
And where are you from originally, Greg?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh,
Yeah.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Not a bad place either.
Yes, it's the show.
Not quite like San Diego, but
No, there's nothing quite like San Diego. So you're now we're going to help you get a piece of it. So
perfect. Thank
Great.
you.
So let's go through this, guys. And the reason I'm asking these questions is to really build a deep understanding of what it is you're looking for. Some people come in here with the thought that they want to live in one area, and after talking to me and my team, we can then open up maybe 4 or 5 other areas that you guys didn't know about. It's just because we know the area really well and we've lived here a long time. So you're going to give me information, I'm going to run it through my internal processor, and then we're going to maybe find some other areas that match what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, so let's start with the first question. Have you guys spoken to a lender at all? Have you talked to any lenders? Or?
Not yet.
No.
Okay, great. We can address that later. Okay. A home is way more than just bedrooms and bathrooms, and that's very important for you guys to know that. We want to ask you the question that helps us understand long-term what it is you're looking for. So, you guys live in a home right now. What is it about the home you guys live in that you would like to duplicate in your future home? What are the things that you like about where you live that you'd like to duplicate?
Light. It has a lot of light.
Okay, natural light.
Very, 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 very important to me.
Great.
I like a lot of space and a good backyard. It's 2 things I really need.
Space in the backyard.
So,
Outstanding. So, tell me, why is natural light important to you, Sarah Zane?
It affects how I feel, just like emotionally. Like if it's dark and closed in, that's how I feel. And
Yeah.
I feel like he's not quite as affected by that as much as I am, but
Great.
I'm extremely affected by that. So, or at least when there's a situation where we could create more light at some point.
Got it. Okay. And what about you, Greg? You said it's space in a big backyard.
so space for me, I do a lot of adventure sports, so I have my snowboard, surfboard, motorcycles, skydiving gear, all that stuff.
Great.
First off, I need a place to put it, and then second, just like having a good backyard is a great place to clean off gear, things like that, and it's a good place to just kind of hang out. So
Got it.
those are
Okay.
the biggest things.
Fantastic. So let me ask you guys this: you're considering buying a home. What is the reason? Why are you considering making a home purchase?
Investment for me.
Okay.
I know of a couple places out here that are great investments. I've been told by buddies who moved out here in years prior that this is a great place to buy, and also was looking to maybe rent to a couple of my buddies who will
Yeah.
also be coming out here for work.
Great. Okay. Now, what about you, Sarah Zane?
I think that we want to start a family before too long. You know, it'd be nice to not be constantly having to be renters.
Okay. So tell me more about that. That's a good reason, and yours is actually a great reason as well. So right now you're renting, and you're gonna start having a family, so you want to kind of lay some roots down.
Exactly. Yeah, not having to be on a lease or sort of build a home, basically,
Okay.
for our children.
So, children, are you guys having soon? I mean, what or future
Next couple of
plans?
years, yeah. So, I mean, not like tomorrow, but
Now, there's a lot of people who rent and have children, and it doesn't affect them. So tell me,
Right.
there's something more just besides having a family?
well, having some sort of equity, having
okay.
creating some financial, having some assets.
Okay. So
Or-
help me understand. You said assets, and that's great. Assets clearly are important to you, and getting a home is a great way to acquire assets. Why are assets important to you, Susan?
Well, I mean, being able to own something
Okay.
seems like an important thing. The American dream.
So in 5 years, you may sell this, or you may rent it out.
Exactly, and we think because it's such a huge military place, we could always probably, even if we didn't sell it, we could still make some. We would assume we could make some income off of it.
Got it. So long term, you're looking for some income for financial and
Exactly.
family security. Does that sound?
Absolutely. And offset the mortgage. That was the plan that I had in mind, was that by renting, you can live there, offset the mortgage. By the time we do decide to have children, we can stop the renting or continue it if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
choose. But it will have saved us a lot of money that we can then spend on our family later down the line.
So long term, financial security and family security are very, very important to you.
Yes.
Could I say that at the core, that's why we have decided to buy a home? Does that sound
Yeah.
Yes.
great? Okay, outstanding. You said no children right now, so go ahead and put that. That's important because you know about schools. So my question is when are you guys considering? Because if you say you're going to have children in the next 4 years, then that's okay. We don't have to really focus on the schools right now because it'll be 10 years before the first child goes into school. If you are pregnant now 6 years is when they're going to be looking at elementary school. So it really helps us understand what neighborhood you're looking for. If you're kind of a ways out, then that gives us some more time.
I'd say 2 to 4 years out
Yeah.
right now.
So at 2 years, that means 8 years from now, you will have a child going into kindergarten.
yes.
So that's great.
Closer to 2 than 4.
Great. So that means we don't really have to focus as hard on the right school district. Now, school district's always important,
Okay.
but if you had children right now, then it's way more important because now where they go to school is impacted immediately. So that's good, but that's a good future thing to consider. All right. Do you entertain a lot? Do you have a lot of people over?
Yes.
Okay.
We like to.
What areas of the home do you guys entertain in?
Barbecue.
Yeah. So backyard,
Mm-hmm.
kitchen, family room
Great. Okay.
is our main spots here.
So tell me this: how long do you expect to live in this home?
Yeah, it really depends. Just depends on the market. Depends on kind of how work goes and if I get stationed somewhere else or that kind of thing. So it's very.
Let's do this. If
Not
what's the
sure.
least amount of time you consider living, and then what's the
2 years is the least.
Okay.
That's just the time I'll be stationed here, and then it could be, depending on the military, it could be a long time. Just there's no real top end
Okay.
because if we leave, we may keep it and rent it. We may sell it. It just depends.
Great. So 2 years that's good. That's a good time period for me to estimate on. So because we always like to deal in worst case scenarios. If we say worst case 2 years, that's a good number to go off of. Now in 2 years, it's going to be a little bit more challenging for us to ensure that this place will resell and make money, or that it's going to rent out and make money. 3 years is ideal. 4 years is perfect, and then 5 years is amazing. But 2 years, we just have to put a little bit more scrutiny into it, but that's okay.
Okay.
That's our job.
Mhm.
So 2, and then we'll leave it open on the top. Let me ask you this: do you guys have any pets?
We have a dog.
Okay. The reason I ask that is if you're looking at townhomes and condos, then some type of pets are
Yeah.
way off limits, like Great Danes or
Right.
whatnot. So what type of pet do you guys have?
Golden Retriever.
Yeah.
Golden Retriever, inside or outside dog?
Inside.
Outside. And what does he weigh? And I ask you that because a lot of these HOAs have restrictions on what a pet can weigh.
80 pounds.
80 pounds. All right. Good to know. All right. Now, this is a great question that really helps you understand, or helps me understand, what type of home you're looking for, what neighborhood. So it's a little harder for the guys. It's really easy for the gals most of the time. But I'm going to ask you, if you could wave a magic wand, what is the perfect home? What images come to mind? What is the perfect home? What do you see? And we'll start with you, Greg.
I'd say 4-bedroom, 2,000 plus square feet, somewhere around 6,500 foot lot.
That's very detailed information.
Very open family room.
Open, okay.
That way we make sure to have space, and I would want probably at least 2 bathrooms, one in the master and one in the hallway.
So we're definitely going to get to features at the end, because that's the easy stuff.
Okay.
The features are the easy stuff. I want you to see, or I want to understand what it is you see in the house. What are the cup floors? What are the layout, neighborhood, backyard? What's it look like on the outside? All the things. Again, we're going to get to square footage. Those are more the features. That's the easy stuff.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand what neighborhoods. What's the general feel of this house?
Okay.
So you said big, 2,000 square feet, open floor plan. That's important. It's probably gonna be a more modern home.
Okay.
Are there anything else that comes to mind? What are you looking at for in a kitchen? What are you looking for on flooring, coverings, stuff like that?
I would say I like granite countertops as far as kitchen goes.
Okay.
I'd like a good neighborhood. If there's a chance we raise kids here,
All right.
I would
Now,
want it to be
how do you
friendly.
define good?
From what I know, in the places we've driven around so far, I think Coronado seems to be a very good location for us. That kind of.
So when you say good, you mean safe?
Safe.
Or- okay, good.
Yes.
That's good to know. So safety. That's important for a first-time home buyer.
Mhm.
All right, let's go to you, Sarah Zane. What is it that what images come to mind in a perfect home?
High ceilings, open, like I said, light, where you're standing in a spot. You have different views because the windows in the space has created like a moment. And I love the rolling hills. I mean, I love the ocean, but I think that I love the mountainous aspect of
It
San
must be
Diego.
the Tennessee in you
I
there.
think it is. I was born on a mountain, so.
Rocky Top. All right.
Uh-huh.
Great. Is there anything else? What type of floors do you like? Are you-
Wood.
Wood. All right.
Wood.
Now, what about the outside of this home? Is it a craftsman type bungalow? Is it a
Mhm.
modern stuccoed house? Is it
I
single
like the
level?
craftsman bungalow.
All right.
Yeah. Trees. I don't love. I'm not dying for the desert feel. More of a, if we can get some sort of a lush.
Great. Landscaping.
Mm.
Those are great things. That gives me a couple of ideas of neighborhood. So that's great information. Let's ask this. You're making a big purchase here, guys. Buying a home is a significant investment. When it comes to buying, what are your biggest concerns? And we'll start with you, Greg. What's your biggest concern?
That I'm not going to make money on my investment.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, now give me your second biggest.
I'd say that I won't be able to find renters to help offset mortgage.
Okay. All right, that's good. How about you, Sarah?
Mine's money too. I mean, we have a lot of our friends live on base, and we thought we were just living on base. So being able to justify that we're going to be buying a however many $1,000 home.
Yep. It seems like both of these come back to money, which is that's good. Tell me, for you, why is that such a concern? Why are you nervous about not making money?
Just financial security. I just know that I know a couple people who've gone into bankruptcy because they kind of overextended themselves, and I just want to make sure that we do a financially smart investment.
Okay, so that's key. You said you've known someone who's gone through financial hardship, so that's important. I'll tell you this, Craig, we're going to treat your money just like it's ours. I would never put you into a property that I wouldn't buy for myself or my own family. So we're never going to push you. We're actually going to talk you out of a lot more properties that we're going to talk you into, because we want to make the right decision for you long term, and that's extremely important. Never going to overextend you into a property that you can't afford. Again, when I take a client to a new home build, I always say, okay, before we go in here, watch out, because they're designed to knock your socks off. Let's be very, very hesitant, because they can tend to really blow you away, and then people do get excited and they tend to make emotional decisions. We're going to all base it on the numbers and making sure that this property long term is going to be a money maker, not a money taker. I'm going to show you that. If you guys stick around for a little bit longer, I can show you that.
Great, thank you.
Affordability. So I think it sounds like you're thinking monthly payment is you were expecting no monthly payment. Now you know you're going to have a monthly payment.
Exactly.
So you guys are using what type of financing? What are you considering using for financing?
VA loan.
Oh, great. That's a great loan package.
Yep.
So what I would like to do is, if it's okay, go to the board and kind of break down how the mortgage payments and how that monthly payment scenario works.
Awesome.
Would that be all right?
Absolutely,
Yes.
thank you.
Great. All right. Becky, would you mind capping the projector, and I'll go up and do a demonstration. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to demonstrate your monthly payment estimate. Now, monthly payment is way more important than mortgage payment, because mortgage is just a subset of monthly. So you need to know at the end of the day, I think, what is the dollar amount I'm going to send to the bank. That's more important than knowing, well, taxes are this. I want you to know the entire lump sum that you're going to pay at the end of the month for your house. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, so here's how that works. We break down your monthly payment into something called PITI. Now, I know you guys have heard the word PITI before, but this is a new acronym. This is a different type of PITI. Okay, so PITI is P-I-T-I, principal, interest, tax, and insurance. So the way that breaks down is this. This is what your entire monthly payment is. This does not include HOA if there is any. So let's assume you guys are not looking at a condo in townhome, but we'll look at that in a few seconds. But this is what your monthly payment composes of. Okay, it's P-I-T-I. So the first portion is mortgage. Okay, that's your principal and interest payment. All right, I'm going to use, I like to be real conservative. Again, I like to treat your money like it's mine. I'm kind of a conservative guy. So I'm going to show you how these numbers break down, and I'm going to use numbers that are a little bit higher to make sure you're protected. So we always over-exaggerate, kind of like a combat load. You always plan take way more than you're going to use. Is that all right if we over? Okay, great. So we're going to use, for an interest rate, 3.75. Okay, now that's going to be a little bit high. It's about 3.625 right now. So this is going to keep you protected. But 3.75 is what we're going to use for the mortgage interest rate. I'm not saying that's going to be your interest rate, because we're going to link you up with a lender and they're going to handle all this for you. But I'm just saying we're going to use this as a place setter to keep you protected for estimating. Right? That's the mortgage rate. Then there's property taxes. Okay, you have to pay taxes on the property that you own, and it's lumped up, rolled into your monthly payment with the VA loan. It's all impounded as one payment. So the tax rate in San Diego, I'm going to use the highest tax rate in San Diego, which is 1.25%. Now that is the highest tax rate in San Diego County. Most of them are going to be 1.01, 1.02, 1.1. But again, if we use the highest, you'll be protected for estimating your costs. Good? Mm-hmm. The last one is insurance. Okay, just like the car you own, you have car insurance on the car. Same thing. The house you own, you have to have homeowners insurance. So homeowners insurance, I'm assuming you guys use USAA?
Yep.
Great. They're a little bit higher than most, but they give really good service. They're going to be, we're going to estimate them at 0.75%. Okay? But we get. Now, what that does is we add all those up. Now, if you're an engineer, you've already got these numbers in your head figured out, but I'm not, so just bear with me. We're going to say 5.75% is the estimator you're going to use when you are looking at what your monthly payment rate is going to be. So what that breaks down to is, let's go to this white space over here. Now, for every $100,000 in mortgage, your monthly payment will be $575 per month. You good with that?
Yep.
Now, just so you know, there's no $100,000 homes in San Diego. Okay, I could get you a carport in Encanto for $100,000, but there is none. I'm just using this so we can learn how to estimate your costs. Okay, so the way this would break down is, for every $100,000 you add, you're just going to add another $575 per month. Make sense?
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you guys know about the VA loan, but the VA loan max for San Diego County right now is $580,750. Okay, so we're gonna
Made certified.
yeah. Thank you. We're just gonna call this 3,000. So this is how you're going to break down and analyze exactly what your mortgage payment would be. Now, you can exceed $587.50. Okay, you can go higher than this with a VA loan. You just have to put 25% of the difference down. So if you, let's say you guys find a perfect home for $600,000 or $680,000, that's $100,000 more than the VA down limit. You have to put 25% of that down. So $687.50, the max is $587.50. Difference is $100,000. 25% of $100,000 is $25,000. So you have to put $25,000 down. Now the benefit there is, if you buy a $680,000 home as a civilian with no military history, you have to put $130,000 down. So you get a lot more bang for your buck with the VA loan. It's one of the things our government really does get right. One of the few things. So it's a really good program. Now, that is how you would break down the schedule here. So based on these numbers, where are you guys thinking that you may want to be?
Probably between 600,000 and 800,000.
Okay, so you're actually off the board.
Yeah.
Great. So that's going to put you at $4,200 a month approximately.
Right.
Now, the key here is, when you're looking at properties, because we're going to build you a search here in a few minutes, and you're going to start getting properties instantly, instant access to information. The way you're going to estimate what your mortgage is going to be is this. You're going to take the $100,000 multiplier. So let's say, Sarah's name, you find a house for $525,000. What you do is very simple. You move the decimal over, and you're going to say 5.25 times 575. That will equal your monthly payment. Okay, let's say you find a perfect place for $576,000. Okay, you would say 576. We're going to move our decimal point over. So 5.76 times 575. And that's exactly how you're able to quickly look at a number and figure out what your mortgage payment would be. Now, that's if we pay sticker price, all right? That doesn't mean we're paying that. That just gives you a quick way to estimate where you're going to shake out. Good?
Yep.
Any questions on that? So this is essentially how you can estimate your monthly payment. Not mortgage, because some people will try to sell you on mortgage, but you want to know monthly. Now, if there is a HOA, let's say we got this house for $500,000 and it's in an HOA, you're just going to add whatever the HOA payment is. Let's say it's $300 a month. You just add that on. Good?
Yep.
Now, a lot of people don't like HOAs. I have no problem with them because they keep your neighborhood protected. But again, that's a personal decision. We can talk about that as we start looking at homes. But that's how it breaks down. Any questions? So now that we've kind of demystified what your mortgage and monthly payment are going to be, you see a little bit more comfortable knowing what you're getting into.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, that's why we do it. So, all right. Now, the next thing is we're gonna go over the fun stuff. We're gonna start talking about areas and the actual features. First, I want to ask you guys. I want to make sure that I do the best possible job for you at all times. I want to make sure I'm always giving you 5-star customer service. How is it I can ensure that I always give you 5-star customer service? How do you describe excellent customer service?
I'd say she cares about it more than I do, so.
Being able to get in touch with you.
Okay, so responsiveness is important. Okay. What about you?
I would say, yeah, responsiveness is good. Being I like how you're using more data oriented stuff.
Okay.
I like to see the math and stuff behind it. I don't want somebody to be like, oh, this is a great place because I think it is. I want to see this great place because the math tells me
Absolutely.
it's correct.
Okay. One of the things I'll also say that you guys didn't mention it, but we tend to be very, very straightforward with you. Again, we're going to talk you out of a lot of places by talking you into them. Like, I know you know what a living room is when we walk in. You're never going to hear anyone on our staff say, this is the living room, this is the kitchen. That's just not the way we operate. We're going to walk in there and we're going to look at it from the eyes of a professional and tell you whether this is a good investment and why, or why it's a bad investment and why. So we're really good. Sometimes we've been accused of being a little bit too blunt. We don't sugarcoat it because this is a big financial decision. We want to make sure that you get straight, unfiltered, and unbiased information. If we walk in and the house is garbage, we're going to say, this is no good, let's get out of here. So we're really straight to the point because we want to make sure you're protected. Make sense?
Yep.
So let's talk about communication. You did mention communication responsiveness. How would you rank the best way to get a hold of you guys? Email, text, phone. What's your top, second, and third?
Text is the best for me.
Okay.
Then calling, then email.
Okay. So you're not an email guy. You don't just love email. It's good. Text, call, and then email. How about you, Sarah Zane?
I would say text is great for the quickness, but I'd also like to be able to have somebody on the phone.
Okay. Text,
if I
call,
need,
email.
because sometimes I can't say everything I'm trying to say with a text.
Understood.
I have to explain.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. So you guys are on the same. You guys are both the same. Text is good, but a call really clarifies more information than emails the least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the fun stuff, guys. Areas of interest. Let's talk about where you guys are looking. Just based on what you have said, it appears that you guys want. There's no kids. You want a place that's going to rent out for a high level, for a high amount. A place that has a little bit older look, so it's not necessarily a suburb area. Really good resale potential and really good rent potential. So I've got a couple of ideas in mind, but I want to hear your areas of interest first. Greg, we'll start with you.
I feel like Coronado is a pretty good spot, but we both know it's pretty pricey, so
Okay.
we may or may not be able to find something good there. Imperial Beach, I've heard, is a great location.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal location. That's great. What are some other areas?
We're
Those
wondering
are the
about
two
going
I
up. We're
considered.
yeah, we've heard mixed feelings about getting north at all. Like if that would be if it's really important to stay in like centralized San Diego or like Ocean.
Well, budget will drive a lot of that, but the neighborhoods that you've just from what you have said, you're looking for an older type of neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So the areas that I know match exactly what you guys are looking for. Coronado and IB are there. We were looking for older neighborhoods. We're not looking suburbs. So Coronado, IB, I'm going to put Mission Beach, Ocean Beach would work. Point Loma would work really well. North Park, South Park, Mission Hills, Hillcrest, University Heights, even certain parts of La Mesa, going up the 5 corridor, Del Mar, Encinitas, Solana Beach, and then north of that it starts getting newer and newer and newer. So that's kind of your cap on northbound.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to go too much into Claremont because those are 1950s homes. They're not really bungalow style.
Okay.
And the schools in there are not the greatest, but these areas all match what it is you're looking for. Have you heard of all these areas?
I have, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
We would also like to be close to work, and I work on Coronado, so that is
So-
definitely. I don't know that we want to be doing more than a 20-25 minute commute.
And where do you work?
Right now I am applying to jobs. I'm going to be a teacher.
Oh,
I'm
great.
getting my license.
Oh, that's incredible. All right, so yeah, I think Coronado, IB, South Park would work really well. North Park are really close. Anything that's south of the 8, north of 94, anything in that little golden triangle would put you about 20 minutes from work.
Okay.
So, all right. Now we talked about price range. You said you're kind of looking to stay around 800,000, and you came up with that based on the numbers that we looked at on the board. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that helped. Yeah.
Great. So you're looking around $4,200 a month. That puts you at about 18,000. Okay. And you guys said you currently rent now.
Yes.
Are you on a month to month? Are you can break any time?
Month to
or-
month, yeah,
Mhm.
so we can move it anytime.
All right. Now, let's talk about your time frame. Ideal world. When would you guys like to have keys to your new home?
As soon as we find somewhere that we both like.
Sooner the better.
Great. So let's talk about that process a little bit. With us, it's a pretty fast. It really depends on your level of drive and determination. We could build you a search. Today, you identify 15 properties you want to see. We can go look at them tomorrow. If you like one of them and we run the numbers and it all works, you could be in a home 21 days later. So
Sounds
from
good to
right
us.
now, in 23 days, you could have a house. It can work that fast. The only thing that's going to slow us down is the other real estate agent and the lender, which is a really important thing to talk about. Is when you're getting a loan, you want to be in a position that your lender benefits and helps you by giving you and I say that by you having a fast closing time. By having a very, very expeditious closing time, you will be more desirable to a seller. They're going to see you as a stronger offer. Just kind of like cash is always king. Well, cash is king because it's very fast. Same thing for a lender. If you have a choice between, if you're a seller and you have a choice between 3 offers, one of them is a 60-day close with their lender, one of them is 45 days, and one of them is 21 days, they're going to see that as 3 more mortgage payments, 2 more, or hey, this couple can go, well, no more mortgage payments. So it makes you way stronger when you can close faster. So, make sense?
Yep.
Mhm.
Great. Let's talk about the easy stuff. Let's go features. I'm going to ask you for the features. You tell me what you need and what you want. So, for example, I'll say bedrooms. You need 1, you would like 2, or and so on. That way we get your needs and your wants down. Good?
Right on.
All right, so let's start with that one. Bedrooms. How many do you need? What's ideal?
And we need 1.
We definitely need 1. We need 3 probably.
3 would be, 3 to 4 would be ideal.
1 is what you need.
Yep.
4 would be ideal.
Yes.
Bathrooms. How many? Okay, so number of bathrooms. You said you need 2. You would want to have more. 3. Okay, that's great. We go through some other ones on here. Do you need a formal living room? Formal living room is where you have like a family room and a formal living room. Is that something that you need?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. What about a formal dining room? You know, you have a lot of dine-in kitchens, and then you have formal dining rooms.
I don't think so,
Yeah,
because in
me
San
neither.
Diego, we want to eat outside.
Oh, great. What about a fireplace?
Yes.
I would like that a fireplace.
Please.
Yes.
So that's a need. That's awesome.
Natural and not gas. Would
Yeah.
be-
So that's older neighborhood for sure. It does
Yeah.
get really cold here in San Diego, so I can see why you want a fireplace. What about a home office?
I don't really need one.
I would like one to make into a yoga studio. I'm also a yoga teacher.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So we'll put home office on there. That's why. So we needed at least 2 bedrooms in, because maybe we can convert one of those bedrooms.
Yeah, I meant to say that's what I should have said earlier.
Great. No problem. Garage. Do you guys need to have a garage?
Yeah.
Yes.
How many spaces do you need in this garage?
At least 2.
A lot.
2.
Now, I will tell you, based on the neighborhoods that you have picked, finding 2-car garages is really going to narrow and thin the herd a little bit.
Okay.
But
I
just
think
so you know.
we could get along with 1 as long as there's parking on the street.
Yeah, in a yard for.
Okay. Do you want a pool?
No.
No.
Okay. Does the age of the property? Some people come in here and they only want something that's newly built. Sounds like you guys are a little bit older.
Mhm.
Older, but having been redone a little bit. I would like the early 80s, late 70s at my minimum. Just like the electronic stuff is
Sure.
updated, plumbing, all that stuff.
So, Greg, if the home was built in 1910, but it's been fully remodeled,
Yes, that's okay.
that's okay.
Mhm.
All right, just making sure, because you want a Craftsman bungalow. They don't make Craftsman bungalows anymore,
Yeah.
especially after 1980. So, just making sure that works. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Now, you said you want a view. Is that
I would love a view. I love feeling like I'm up on a mountain
Right.
type space.
we're going to put that in there then? Now, tell me about you said type or style of the house would be kind of a bungalow feel.
Love that. Yeah.
Right.
I love exposed wood beams, stuff like that.
All right. How big are you guys looking for? What's the size you're looking
As
for?
long as it feels open, like if it's not all blocked off, like if all the rooms are open and we can have like 100 friends over.
I was thinking 2,000 plus square foot.
2,000. Okay. Great. So she wants to have 100 friends in 2,000 square feet.
Yeah,
It's going to be a fun party.
it's gonna be,
I
yes.
hope I get invited.
That's why we need the backyard.
That's going to be fun. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. You're buying your first house. There's certain tax implications that you're going to incur. There's a lot of stuff that goes along with it. We want to be your advisor for life. The first thing I'll ask you is, do you guys have an accountant that you work with?
No.
Not here.
And here's why that's a big deal. When you have a home, you get tax write-offs. You get a lot of things that you can take as exemptions. Having an accountant is a really, really good resource. We even recommend talking to an accountant before it's time to do your taxes at the end of the year, because that's very reactive. We would like you to be more proactive and talk to an accountant right after you buy a home, so we can kind of project out your taxes. That way you know, kind of with confidence, what you're going to be getting back in at the end of the following year as a refund. I like that. Would that be something that's interesting to you guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Done
Would
my
you-
own taxes since school, so.
TurboTax, man.
TurboTax.
Yeah, I could tell you some stories about TurboTax. When I got my first property, I used TurboTax, and then I got turbo screwed. So, that's why we use accountants now. So, we're going to link you up with a great accountant. We have a couple in our database. I'll link you up with some accountants, and then you can choose the best one.
Fantastic.
The other thing that's important is putting a home into a trust. So you're going to buy it as individuals. Then one thing that's very, very important is putting that home into a trust. Because now, if one of you passes away or both, it will directly pass to someone else with no taxation. So we'll also link you up with a trust attorney. Got some great ones that we can link you up with. It's really inexpensive to do a trust. The other question is, do you have a financial planner that you guys use? Again, big financial decision you're making here. You're talking a lot about investments. Are you using someone now that can help you?
No, I do a lot of my own investing through like Scottrade on securities, but I don't have anything that does like broad spectrum.
Would it be okay if I linked you up with a few financial planners? Each one's a little bit different, but they can, some are more aggressive. Okay, great. I'll link you up with a couple of those as well. Again, you meet with them because you didn't indicate that investment and money and long-term assets are important. So sometimes it's good to have the experts sit down with you and help you along. So does that sound good?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, great. All right. Any questions about what we've gone over? I know some great neighborhoods and some great homes that would match. Would it be okay, now that we've gone through all this information, to go through the basics of the process, talk about the history of the interest rates, history of values, stuff like that? Would that be
Yeah.
beneficial?
Absolutely.
Then after that, I can go into all the things we're actually going to do for you at the end, or while we go through this. Is that something you guys are interested in?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn on the PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll go through this. I know you never see PowerPoint, Greg, being in the military.
Yes,
So
of
you're
course.
probably really
Death
excited
by
to see this.
PowerPoint.
Don't worry, this will be really this will actually be fun and interesting. So
All right. I'm
So-
eager to see.
great. All right. So what I have here, I've created this presentation.
We want that house. That's right.
You know, you're the 18th person to say that this month. So this is, I like to call
Looks
this
about right.
the steps to success. And the reason we go through this is just so you understand the process, how it works, and a little bit of the history, some of the things, some of the pitfalls and whatnot. Good?
Yep.
So the first thing is this. Why look for a realtor? Why have an agent on your team? Have you guys ever gone into a car dealership and bought a car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you may have gotten a little bit better deal? Do you think you could have gotten a better deal in there?
I know. Every time I go and I get screwed.
Okay.
I couldn't have gotten a better deal. I waited there for 7 hours.
That's great.
I got a
Most
good
people think that they'd have brought maybe someone to negotiate on their behalf. They could have gotten a better deal, and I think the same thing. So the difference is now when we go look at homes, you're going into a dealership, but you're taking a negotiator with you. So you are in a way stronger position. So we're going to help negotiate and fight on your behalf. The other thing is you don't owe us anything. You pay us nothing. Our services are completely free to you. We only get compensated when everything's done and you're successful and you find a home. So really, really cool. Our job is to represent you and only you. It's just like you go into court and not having anyone to represent you. You may not go the way you want it to. So our job is to go in and fight for your best interests. So what we say is our job is negotiation, analysis, and just talking you through the process. We're not messengers and order takers and taxi cabs. We're going to do that, some of that as well. But really our job is as professionals to negotiate on your behalf, analyze it, make sure it makes the most sense, and then kind of manage the entire transaction. There's a lot of moving parts. Good?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is my team. We founded our company in 2009. The reason I founded Reef Point Real Estate is because when I bought my first home in 2007, it was the worst experience I could have possibly imagined. When I bought my second home, I thought, well, that was just a bad agent. I'm going to do this again. Different agent, equally bad. So I was just really, really disappointed with the level of agents that I used. And therefore I decided if I'm going to continue to buy properties on my own, I may as well get licensed and just represent myself. Quickly after doing that, I had people coming to me, hey, can you help me buy a place? Can you help me find a home? And literally that's how the business was born. I started helping people. You have one person in the military, all of a sudden you have more referrals and more people coming to you than you can handle. And that's exactly how it went down. So that's me. I don't like to talk about myself, but this is the way the process works. Now, I show you this because when you work with us and when you buy a home with us, you have a whole team of people working on your behalf. It's not just one agent. See, a problem in this industry is the agent tries to do everything. And have you ever tried to do 15 things at the same time?
Yes.
Did it work out very well?
No.
I agree with that. So I built a process and a team system here that makes sure one person takes care of every single aspect of the sale. So you got me, I'm the CEO and broker. We have a manager who oversees all our operations, all our agents, all the office. You'll probably never talk to her, but she is the person who runs the business behind the scenes. Then you have an agent. You'll actually connect with one of our agents on our staff, who is the one who's going to take you out to see homes, going to get you into properties, walk through homes with you, analyze property with you, and actually say this one is good or bad. They're also going to put the offer in, negotiate it, and work with you to get the home. Now, the cool thing here is this: is after you get a offer accepted, we put an offer, we make an offer on a house. When it gets accepted, we have two people that step into this transaction. Now, the people who step into this transaction kind of take the football and carry it to the end zone. These people are critical to our success in operations. The transaction coordinator is the person who takes all these files, and there's about 52 forms that you're going to go through. It's a stack of papers, kind of like an encyclopedia. It is a thick stack of papers. She's the one who's going to upload them all to a technologically leveraged system and send them to you for approval digitally, so you don't have to fax and scan. There's a lot of agents out there who are still using fax machines, really just antiquated. Everything that we send you is going to be electronically approved, so you can literally go on your phone and hit sign and it's done, or initial. Makes it very easy. She's also the first line of defense. She is going to screen all the paperwork the first time and make sure that there's nothing that's glaring that stands out. Now, she's just the initial set of eyes. We have what we call a risk manager. Okay, he's our one who manages all the forms, paperwork, and transactions after she uploads it. He has set on 300 arbitration and mediation modes. So what that means is he has sat right here between angry seller, angry buyer 300 times. So he has the experience of having seen what could go wrong in a transaction and then proactively taking measures to prevent it. He will call you twice a week, every Tuesday and every Friday. He will call you and go over every single aspect of the transaction. He sends interactive videos. He does a whole lot for you. Now, this guy is the person who is going to save us from anything that could go wrong in a transaction. He is like having a paralegal on our team that looks over every single file with a fine-tooth comb. Phenomenal resource to have. His fee, he's at $595 per transaction. He's not cheap, but it's the best money you can ever spend. This guy, that $595 could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is a phenomenal resource to have behind you. So he's what we call our risk manager. Again, twice a week, he'll go through every single form, and then he will present you with information saying, hey, this is what I think, this is what I recommend, how do you want to proceed? So he really takes all these hundreds of forms, or I'm sorry, hundreds of pages from all these forms, goes through all of them and says, okay, this is what I found, and this is what I recommend. So this is your hard part. The time you walk in here until you put an offer in, that's your hard part. That's our easy part. We're very, very objective. We're going to walk into a house and be like, no. You may fall in love with the house. So this part, making the right decision here, is your hard part. We're very objective here. Our job is to be unemotional and just point out the benefits and the negatives of the home. Once you get the offer accepted, when we cross this line of departure here, this is where it gets really easy for you. For us, it then switches. This is our hard part. This is your easy part, because now all you're doing is approving forms, reading over stuff that we've looked at, and making decisions. This is your easy, our hard. This is your hard, our easy. So it does switch when we get to a transaction. So you won't talk to me and the agents as much when we get over here. You'll be dealing a lot more with them, because I am managing the escrow officer's assistant, the title officer's assistant, the lender, the processor, the underwriter, the appraisal. I'm managing the home inspector. I'm managing all the aspects, the transaction coordinator, the closing coordinator, and I've got to talk to the other agent. So there's a lot of things that I'm quarterbacking after we cross this line of departure. So this is where all the work really gets done. This is easy. We get to go look at homes. We have fun. We'll have wine afterwards. We'll tell stories. This is where it gets tough. So, good?
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Any questions so far?
No.
Now, this is our sales from 2014. Did 100 plus sales in 14. Last year we did 130 sales in 2015. I don't show you this to impress you, but to impress upon you. When you do something a lot, you just get really good at it. One thing you'll notice here is we're not the neighborhood expert. I don't just work in one neighborhood. We have sold property everywhere that a veteran wants to go, or a home buyer or home seller wants to go. We meet what they want. So we have a lot more experience. So when you're talking about areas that you're looking in, I can pull from my database of knowledge and show you a lot more that I can expose you to. Some people just know Encinitas, so they can't talk about Oceanside. They can't talk about downtown. We have sold homes literally in every single zip code in San Diego County. So when I look at it, I can help you with all this. Anywhere in this county you want to go, I can help. And you get to tap into my database of neighborhoods. I know, oh yeah, that's Del Cerro. This is what offers. This is what doesn't offer. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is important, guys. There's different types of agency. So when you hire a real estate agent, when you say, John, you're the guy who's going to handle this for us, you're hiring a buyer's agent. My job is to fight for you and be your buyer's agent. Take you to property, analyze property, negotiate on your behalf, walk you through the entire process and quarterback everything. Then there's a seller's agent. That's the person on the other side of the transaction who is working for the seller. This person is not our friend. So if you're out looking at open houses and there's a seller's agent who's like, oh yeah, come work with me. I can get you a better deal. That person works for the seller. It's kind of like going to court and having the prosecution and defense represent the same person. We do not want to use a dual agent. A dual agent means the seller's agent works for you and they work for the seller. Again, it's just a conflict of interest. There's no possible way you can put a buyer and a seller together, know both their sides, and be completely objective. So we always caution you about going into new home communities. That's really dangerous because they have complete control. They will put stuff on your plate that you don't know how to read and look at. It is a negative thing when you go into a home community unrepresented because they see you as fresh meat. It's like in Shawshank Redemption. You're fresh meat. We don't want you to be fresh meat. We're not going to let that happen.
We don't want to be fresh meat.
No, our job is to fight for your best interest. I can't do that if we're not there. So, make sense?
Yep.
All right. Any questions on agency relationship? Agency means that I am representing you. I am your agent. I am okay to do things on your behalf. Call agents, set up showings, negotiate. I can do things for you. It's a fiduciary responsibility where I put your needs above all else. So, good?
Yep.
All right. Now, I always think it's a great idea for you to understand the history of interest rates because you need to know what our market has done. I'm going to go back and forth between two slides here. So The one at the top from Freddie Mac, this shows interest rates over time. One thing you'll notice is, if you look from 1970 until 2015, what is it you see about that trend line?
Calm down.
Yeah, it's the lowest it's ever been in American history. If I were to pull this thing back to 1900, we would still be the lowest we've ever been in history. That's a good thing. That makes it very much a buyer's market because low interest rates mean you can afford more. However, it's also very much a seller's market because there's very, very little inventory. San Diego County, there's about 5,900 homes available. You look at a place like Philadelphia, there's 66,000 homes available. They have a huge population. We have a bigger population than them, and we have way less homes. So it's a really tight inventory market, but it's also a buyer's market because interest rates are so low. Now here's the takeaway. If you guys wait and say, well, we're not finding anything, the negative aspect of that is when interest rates rise, and we know they're going to rise, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The government came out in January and said we're raising the interest rates, so eventually mortgage rates will raise. That hurts a buyer because as mortgage rates rise, your purchasing power actually decreases. Here's how it works. For every 1 point in interest rate increase, you as a buyer lose 10% of your purchasing power. So right now, if you're looking at an $800,000 home and interest rates go from 3.75 to 4.75, which is not unrealistic, if they rise by that much, you lose 10% of your purchasing power. So if you're at 800, you just lost $80,000, now you're at 720. So you went from looking in Imperial Beach, Coronado to Logan Heights. So that's the difference. It takes you out of the neighborhoods you want and puts you in neighborhoods maybe that you don't want to be in. So this is extremely important. This is why acting now is probably a better idea than gambling and waiting for this to start going back up. If you'll notice right here, it hit rock bottom 2013 and it's starting to creep its way back up. Make sense? Now, one of the things you'll notice is this line up here shows these gray overlays. The gray overlay represents a recession in U.S. history. Every time we've had a recession, the government has done what to the interest rate? They've dropped it. Okay? Takeaway here, guys, is they dropped it from the recession and kept driving it down. It's just a matter of time before it comes back up. So it is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. What we don't want to do is wait until you lose more purchasing power. Home prices over time have continually gone up since 2011. Since December of 11, home prices have gone up every single month in San Diego. So the good thing is if you bought in 2011 and sold this year, you made money. If you bought in 2013 and you wanted to sell this year, you'd make money. If you bought in 2015, you may make a little bit of money. The longer that you wait, the less money that you make when you go to sell. Make sense?
Yep.
Now, the next thing I want to show you is this. This shows what San Diego home prices have done over time. Now, I like to show you this because I'm a numbers guy, and I think you're making a big financial investment. So if you were looking at a stock, you would want to know what that stock has done over time. Same thing. I don't want you to focus on the red line because that's adjusted for inflation. I want you to look at the blue line down here. What this is showing us is what has the home, or what is median home values done right here in San Diego County. This is from Oceanside down to San Ysidro. So why this is important is we're going to show you two bubbles in here, and I'm going to talk about how and why these things happen. All right. The good thing is, if you bought back here in 1987 and it's 2014, did you make money when you sold?
Yes.
Okay? If you bought here and you sold in 2000, did you make money?
Yes.
Yes. So if you bought here, if you bought in 1990 and sold in 1993, you may not have made money. So this is not day trading. I know you said you like to do Scotty trade or Scott
Trade.
Scott trade. Okay. So this isn't Scott. This is buying a home. So this is, if the takeaway here is long term. If you hang on for the long haul, there's a trend line here from here to here. You've gone up and down. If you try to day trade it, it may not work out. That's why, as a military member, I always recommend that even if you buy here, if you'll just rent it out and hang on, it's going to come back in value. Let's talk about these two bubbles. Okay, very, very important. Now, the first bubble. What is a bubble? Bubble when home prices rise and then it bursts, and then they fall. The first one happened right there between 1983 and 1989. I'm going to show you why that happened. Remember we talked about interest rates? In 1983, the interest rate was 18%. Okay? Over 4 years, it dropped from 18% to 8%. That's 10 points. So 10 points of interest rate drop means 100% change in your purchasing power. So if right here you could afford a $200,000 home, you could now afford a $400,000 home. If you could afford an $800,000 home, now you can afford a $1.6 million home. That's a huge and radical change in your purchasing power. See, that was going the other way. That was going this way. Now, when that happens, people start jumping into the market to buy. Price is just a function of supply and demand. This drove demand up substantially because you could afford more. When everybody wants something and there's not. So in 1990, the prices stabled out a little bit. And then in 1998, Bill Clinton, now in Greenspan, decided they were going to deregulate the subprime lending industry. Now, the reason they did that is because they wanted to have another similar party as theirs elected. So they wanted to make a boom in the economy. So by doing what they did is they know that the housing economy is 1/6 of the U.S. economy, the housing market. So they knew that if they were to get the housing economy booming, that it would pull the entire economy along with it. So what they did is they decided they were going to deregulate the subprime lending industry so that way more people could buy a house. Back here, only about 30% of the American population is eligible to buy, could actually buy when you look at income, assets, credit, all the things that go into determining whether you can buy a house, all the underwriting factors. Only about 30% could buy here. Well, they flipped the switch in 1998 that drove that to 95%. So they tripled the amount of demand. We said that price is a function of supply and demand. So in 1998, they flipped the switch, which caused a huge spike in demand. So a person used to have a 630 or 620 credit score. Now you could have like a 510. They had these loans called ninja loans. No income, no job, and no asset verification. Meaning you could work at Starbucks. I don't even know if Starbucks was around back then, but you could work at Starbucks, walk into a place and run your credit, and if you had a 700 credit score, and you could state how much you made. Stated income loans. I make $500,000. Great. You can afford a place for $1 million. That is exactly how it worked. So what happens is now it goes from very few people being able to buy to everybody being able to buy. And then price starts driving up. Everybody wants something, there's not enough of it, prices start driving. The difference in these two markets is everyone was trying to buy here, but you still had to meet really strict underwriting criteria. Here, there's no underwriting criteria anymore. It's basically a free-for-all. Almost anybody can get a home. Now, when price starts driving up like this, home builders, developers start building more property. But there's a lag time in demand and homes actually being built. There's always a natural lag there if you look at economics. So why? Because you can't just start cranking out homes tomorrow. You have to go and get land. Then you have to get developers, architects, environmental plans, government regulations. So there's a lag time from the time that the prices start going up until it catches up with itself. Now, so we know from economics, supply and demand always catch up eventually. And when they catch up, what happens? Prices stabilize, which is what happened right here in 2006, prices stabilized. Then, all of a sudden, overnight, these funny loans went away. In 2007, right in here, those funny money loans disappeared. So now no one could buy anymore. So we went from 90% of the population back down to 30, or 95% down to 30. Then, unfortunately, you have all this inventory that these builders built and put out there. Well, now no one could consume it. So now you have way more supply than you have demand. So what happens then is price starts to drop. It's kind of like strawberries in the summer are way cheaper because there's way more of them than they are in the winter because there's way less supply and demand. So then prices started dropping. Then in 2008, the recession hit. People started losing jobs. People start foreclosing. Now, this is where it gets crazy because in 2007, George Bush, the president at the time, said, we wanted to protect our people who own homes from financial disaster. And like you mentioned, financial disaster was important to you. Bush said, we're going to make this thing called the Mortgage Debt Relief Act. So essentially, he said that, or they came up with legislation that said if you foreclosed or short sold on a home and your debt was forgiven, that debt forgiveness would not show up as income. So now, if you are forgiven of a debt, if you're forgiven a $100,000 debt, that shows up as gain on your income statement. It shows as loss on the companies who forgave the debt. It shows on a gain on yours. So if you bought a $500,000 house, it would only sell for $250,000, and the bank forgave $250,000 in debt. Debt forgiveness would show up as income on your taxes. So that would mean you have a $250,000 income spike. Well, George Bush said, we're not doing that. We are going to put that on hold. So what that really did is it incentivized people now to short sale and foreclose, because now there's no tax ramification anymore. But they were trying to do the right thing and protect people. What it really did is it literally made people totally okay with foreclosure. Now it doesn't matter. There's no implication. So then more people short sold and foreclose. So there's more and more inventory, less and less demand. Prices just continue to drop. Then 2008, we had a new presidential election, and that's when Barack Obama came in, and they came up with the stimulus plan. The stimulus plan was a whole bunch of economic factors, but one of them was, first, they gave money to the banks. Why did they give money to the banks? So the banks would stop foreclosing and pumping more inventory into the system. So they said no more foreclosures, no more, and hold off on short selling so many. Just stop the inventory. So they plugged it in. Then they said, all right, now we have to drive down the interest rate. So we'll go back a slide. They started driving down the interest rate as low as they possibly can. That continued. So we'll drive down the interest rate to get people buying again, and then we'll actually give a tax credit. So they started giving an $8,000 tax credit for anyone who bought a house. From 2008 till 2011, they gave a $8,000 tax credit. So they plugged it in. So no more inventory, make it favorable to buy again, and pay people to buy. Well, what that did is it immediately had a kickstart in San Diego economy and the housing market. Now, when that went away in 2010 for civilians, 11 for military. When that went away, the prices started dipping again, but they're still driving down interest rates the whole time. So let's go back to the slide. They're still driving down the interest rates lower and lower and lower. So eventually, what happened is it got cheaper to own a home in San Diego than it did to rent. When that happened, that's when people started jumping back in the market to buy. And that's why we say the lowest point was 2011. From then on, it's gone continually upward. So, does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why the housing market happened the way it is. Now, you said a big concern of yours was, I don't want to buy a place and lose money. So, here's why that's not going to happen. This is what's going to happen here. This line is going to trend up, and it's going to start to go more linear in nature. This is very exponential. This is drastic. It's going to be more linear over the next 3 to 7 years, or 5 to 7, excuse me. Here's why. So everybody who foreclosed between 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, those people have to wait 7 years before they can buy again. They've got to sit on the sideline for 7 years. In 2015, a whole bunch of buyers became eligible to buy again. So there's all this pent-up demand of people who foreclosed, unfortunately, or short-sold, and now are waiting to get back into the market to buy again. So those people are going to start hitting the market for the next 5 to 7 years. So there's a lot of pent-up demand waiting that can't do anything, which is why this isn't going to trail off. It's going to be very just linear in growth. The big economists think that San Diego will go up 4 to 6% over the next 7 years every year. I don't think that's possible. I think that's way too aggressive. If you bank on 2 to 3% per year, you're going to be okay. That means if you own this thing for 5 years, if the home goes up in value 2% per year, you've gained 10% in value. So if you buy an $800,000 house in 10 years, it'll be worth $880. In 5 years, it'll be worth $880. So if you go a little bit more aggressive and say 3, that means it's worth 15% more. So again, you're almost 900 something. So you've gained equity, and you've paid down debt on it. So I think you're going to have very, very steady and stable increase. Now, some neighborhoods are a lot different. Some neighborhoods are going to go up in value way more drastically. and some are already kind of peaked out, so they're going to be a little bit more linear. Like IB is a neighborhood that I think is going to go up way more drastically because they're moving a naval base down there. It's one of the few coastal communities left in San Diego, so it's going to gain value on a way higher appreciation rate than, say, North Park or Hillcrest, because those have already kind of topped out. They're going to be more gentle in their appreciation. Good?
Yep.
So the key is finding the neighborhoods that are going to give you this steady linear growth in the highest rate that we can find. Good?
Yep.
All right. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next slide. I love to show this because this shows equity sales, short sales, and foreclosures between 2009 and 2013. The key takeaway here is, remember I said all those foreclosures that were going on? This graphically shows how many there were. At one point, it was 1/3 of the market. Now, there's still some short sales and foreclosures out there. There's just a heck of a lot less of them. It's less than 1% of the market now. They're still there. We're going to put them on your search, but there's just way less of them. Good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, this is one of the things that we're going to do here. I'm going to show you an MLS printout, and then I'm going to show you a market analysis. So when you start receiving properties, you're going to get something that looks just like this. What you guys are going to look at is you're going to look at the pictures, you're going to look at the neighborhood, you're going to look at square footage, and you're going to look at bedrooms. That's the things that you're looking at. I'm looking at that, but the other things I'm looking at are kind of like a doctor looking at an x-ray. You ever gotten an x-ray from a doctor and he's pointing at stuff and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about? So I see this as an x-ray. I'm seeing things that you're not looking at the same way. We're going to help you learn that, but I'm looking at market time. How long has this home been on the market? How many price reductions have there been? How many times has the price dropped? How many days on market? How easy is it for this home to be shown? What's the zoning on this property? What are the HOA fees? What are all the things that may make this property a great opportunity or a very, very bad opportunity? So, for example, if I know that they've been on the market 82 days and they've dropped from $675 to $635, is that a motivated seller?
Yes.
I would say yes. That's a long time to sit on the market in San Diego. Something is telling me just by looking at those numbers that they're ready to sell. Now, if it's been on the market for 5 days and the price looks really, really low, I know that we probably don't have a lot of negotiating room because it's lower than market value and it's only been on the market for 2 or 3 days. So I know that's really not one that we have a lot of room on. If it's been on the market 110 days and there's no price reductions and it's overpriced, that tells me that this is not a realistic seller. So I don't want to waste your time and energy going after something that I know they don't really want to sell. Also, the occupancy. If it's occupied by the owner, they're probably not going to be as motivated to take a low offer because they're not making payments on it. They live in it still. If it's vacant and they're making payments on that property, they live in Boston, Massachusetts, and it's been on the market 80 days, and they're having to pay out on it, do you think they're going to be a little bit more motivated?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, next slide. All right, this is a market analysis. When I'm looking at a market analysis, what I do is I take the property that you've targeted, and then I bounce it off the properties that are pending and that are sold. So what I've got here is I've got a past, present, and future. These are my sold properties, these are pending, and these are the ones that are going to sell. And this is very similar to what you'll see in a tight inventory market. You'll see a lot more solds than you do pendings and actives because there's just not a whole lot of homes out there. What I'm looking at is, first I'm looking at the days on the market. So in this case, I'm looking at all the numbers and saying there's a minimum, a maximum, and an average. The average days on market is 15. That's good to know. That's a really fast moving market. Then I'm looking at the price per square foot. That's how we look at value. So I'm looking at, okay, the sold prices per square foot in here, the average, maximum, the minimum. That's important to know. Then I'm going to cross-reference those with the home that you've targeted. So this is the home that you've targeted. The average price per square foot here is $299 per square foot. Is that more or less than the average?
Oh.
It's less than the average. You see that? This is $299.
Mm-hmm.
This is $330. That tells me right there this could be a really good deal. Then I come over to here at days on the market. 15 days on the market is the average. This one's at 21. Is that more or less than the average?
More.
So I know just by looking at that, there is something wrong with this property. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to look at pictures. I know right then and there something's wrong. Now, I don't know what it is yet, but I know the numbers tell me something is wrong with this place. So then I'm going to look at the satellite view. I'm going to look at, is it on a busy street? Is it on a busy corner? Is it on a double yellow line street? Does it back up to a commercial district? Does it back up to a gas station? Can the person living there hear that they're ordering Jack in the Box number 5 every night? What is it that's driving that price to be low and the days on market long? So this is what we'll do before we ever go out and look at a property. We will analyze that information. Now, that's how we know whether we're getting a good deal just by looking at the numbers or a bad deal. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. So, this is of critical importance to you. What I'm showing you here is this is what we call a rent range report. A rent range report analyzes what the rents in that area are. The low, median, and the high. Okay, what that tells me is I look at all the rents that are similar to your property. So we'll run your property in there. We know what the mortgage is going to be because I show you that little trick how to look at mortgage. We're going to look at all the rents in that area so we can line up the rents of what you would pay, what someone would rent your home for, and what your mortgage is going to be. Then we have the bottom 10% of rents, the top 10% of rents, and then the median of the 80%. So if this number right here, this recommended median here, is higher than your mortgage, you're in great shape because someone's going to rent your place out and you're going to make money on it. If they're the same, that's great because that's right now. That's a good indicator that you can move in here and be okay. If there's a big difference, if the rents are way less than the mortgage, that's a danger. We really have to scrutinize that because if you moved out tomorrow, that place would not break even, and that's a danger. So we really have to do some scrutiny and some deep digging to make sure that this is the right place for you guys. Does that make sense? So in the military, we know it's not a matter of if you're going to move, it's when. So when you move away, we're going to analyze this. Almost no agents look at this. We do this because this is critically important to your long-term financial security. And you said that was extremely important to you guys. If you moved out of this thing tomorrow and it would make you money, you're okay. You're in good shape. So very, very important. Good?
Yep.
All right. Now, the next thing is loan pre-approval. I'm not going to go through all the rest of this stuff because it's pretty self-explanatory, but the loan pre-approval is the next step for you guys. Remember I talked about the right lender? My job is to put you in the best position to get your offer accepted and to get the most negotiating power. So if we use a lender that can close in a really short amount of time, we are now getting ourselves more negotiating power. So I would like you guys to underpay for something. I don't like to overpay. I would really like you guys to underpay. If we use our lender, we have way, way more negotiating power. Would you be okay if I had more negotiating power when I went to do a transaction or less?
Yes.
Because if you come in here with Sparkomatic loans or Point Loma Credit Union, I got no negotiating power because that's a 60-day, 45 or 30-day close. It's going to prevent me from doing my job, which is negotiate and fight for you. So the other thing is our lenders, I went through 39 lenders before I found a lender who would take your call whenever you call. Why is that important? Because your hours are a little bit different than the standard Americans. If you get off work at 7 o'clock, the last thing I'm going to let happen is your call, go to a lender, and you get forwarded to India. Or you get forwarded to a call center in the Philippines. That's just not the way I think that this industry should work. If you get off at 5 o'clock, that lender is working for you. You don't work for the lender. He needs to do business the way you want, not the way he wants. Most lenders shut down at 5 o'clock. They're bankers. They shut down at 5. I don't want you to have a question that you can't talk to someone during the day and you don't get an answer until the next day. I just expect that for my clients, you get a call in, it gets answered. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, when you look at the big banks out there, you look at Wells Fargo, you look at USAA, Navy Federal, Bank of America. Those big banks are like McDonald's, okay? You ever notice McDonald's has like 180 menu items? They try to do everything. Would you rather have a hamburger from McDonald's or In-N-Out? Why is that?
They specialize in it.
Because that's all they do, and they're a little bit better at it. So a mortgage lender who only focuses on loans can do them faster, can do them better, can do them cheaper and with better service. Vice the McDonald's approach, where they try to do everything. They do McRib, McFish, McChicken, McNuggets, McSushi, McThai, I think. If you try to do everything, you don't do anything really, really good. That's why I don't like the big bank lenders, because they try to do a ton and they just don't do it well. Where mortgage lenders who just focus on mortgages, that is their specialty, they do it great. They do it faster, better, tastier, better service, and cheaper. And I think that's the way that everyone should go. And the people who are going to be accepting our offer, the agents, know who our lenders are, and they have a great reputation. So, makes sense?
Yeah.
So I'll link you up with a lender when you guys leave here today, who will just make sure you guys are taken care of. Good?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions on what we've covered so far?
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
So you said in like a pinch situation, if we needed to move, we were looking at the rent range graphs. How easy is it to get somebody into your house? Like, let's say I needed to leave tomorrow and I wanted to rent that thing. How would we go about doing that?
That's a great question. So we have relationships with a few property managers that we would link you up with. San Diego is a really, really good rental market. It's very strong because there's very, very little inventory available. So they tend to rent out very quickly. The cool thing about a rental is if you put a rental on Craigslist, which is where all property management companies will put your property, when you put it on Craigslist, it's very, very responsive. So if I put it up on Craigslist and I put it $3,500 a month and we don't get anything for the first day, they'll go to $3,450. And then they'll just keep toying with it until it starts getting hits. The rental market is very, very responsive that way. I know that because I was managing a buddy of mine's property who moved to Washington, D.C. He said, John, can you get my place rented? No problem. It's 2008. He was renting it for $2,900 a month. Unfortunately, I put it on Craigslist at midnight. So instead of putting $2,900 a month, I put $1,900 a month. And when I woke up the next day, I had over 100 phone calls, missed calls on my phone. That's how responsive it is. And one night from 12 to 8 a.m., I had 100 calls come in. It's very, very responsive. So then I was like, what is so... I made a mistake. But it's very, very responsive. Like once you put it on Craigslist, you'll know within a day or two whether it's priced right. And places in San Diego move very quickly. Let's talk about San Diego as a market. This is not to scale, so please bear with me, but this is San Diego, all right? Down here, we have the border with Mexico. Out here, we have the water. Up here, we have Camp Pendleton. We have the mountains over here to the east. There's nowhere for San Diego to grow. It can't grow north because we have the military installation. Down south, we have Mexico. We have a mountain chain all the way up our eastern side. And then here we have the water. There is nowhere for San Diego County to expand, which means we are an isobaric type equation. We have constant amount of volume with increasing pressure. It's like when you shake up a Coke can and it explodes. So there's nowhere for San Diego to expand to. If we're in Houston, Texas, Omaha, Nebraska, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, any other place, any other city on a coastal plain, even Denver or a plain in general, can keep spreading out and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There's a couple of markets in the country that cannot do that. Los Angeles, San Francisco, the Bay Area, Seattle, Boston, New York City, and San Diego and Honolulu. There's just nowhere for them to go. So their prices are going to be a lot higher because there's no more land to spread out. I'm from Houston, Texas originally. Houston, Texas can just keep sprawling out further and further and further. So prices don't go up in value as much nor do rentals because they can just keep building new inventory. There's nowhere to build new inventory here. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Now the other thing is you said you liked Imperial Beach. I think it's a very, very strong place to buy. This is La Jolla right here. This is the most expensive coastal community, and then I would say Coronado is as well. The further and further away you get from La Jolla, the cheaper the coastal communities get. The two cheapest coastal communities in California are where?
Oceanside.
That is absolutely correct. These are the only affordable coastal communities left in all of California. So if you can get in to Imperial Beach or Oceanside now, your property is guaranteed to go up in value, unless there's a tidal wave. So
Very well.
you are guaranteed. These are the cheapest places and they're still affordable. You can still move 2 or 3 blocks from the beach in Imperial Beach and Oceanside and not have to pay over $1 million. So it's the only place in America that you can buy cheap, affordable coastal property that doesn't have 1,000 mosquitoes and it's humid. You see, this is why this is a great place. I'm very, very excited you said Imperial Beach, because this is one of the markets that's poised to explode. Good?
Yep.
Any questions about what we've covered so far? All right. Now, would it be okay if I showed you guys a couple of few factors that we look at before we actually go and look at homes? I've got this little binder here. It's a really cool tool. I'm just going to show you some of the things that we do. Is that all right?
Of course.
Okay.
We're on a roll. Might as well keep going.
Let's keep it going. All right. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to build a buyer tour, and this buyer tour has all the properties we're going to look at in a day, and it's going to show you restaurants in the area, schools, loan products. It's going to have you an area to write notes and all that, so you're going to be really well prepared when you go look at property. Now, before it makes it into that buyer tour binder, here's what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to take your property that you have targeted, because you're going to start getting properties here in a few minutes. You're going to have the property, and you're going to see it, and you're going to target it as a possible or a reject. So I'm going to take all your possibles and I'm going to run them through and do a comparable market analysis. And then I'm going to take that property and I'm going to cross-reference the property with the tax records. Here's why that's a benefit. I want to make sure that the tax records say the exact same thing that the seller and the listing agent say. So for example, if we find a property and the tax records say it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but the listing agent says it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, there's a disparity there. So the first thing I'm asking them is, why is there a disparity? What that typically means in California or in San Diego is that there's unpermitted additions. There's something about the property that was done without telling the tax man. Why? Because then the tax rate will go up. That's the typical reason. All we want to do is make sure that those additions that are done were done to code, were done by a licensed, bonded, and insured contractor that's warranted, that's not going to fall apart. I walked into properties where I know they've added on, and it's definitely not permitted. It's not to code. They don't have enough outlets. It's not done correctly. There's a huge difference in the way work is done, permitted and unpermitted. So we want to make sure that if it's something is different, and we can tell by looking at the tax records that only I have access to, I can tell where there's a difference in the property as according to the tax rules and what they're saying. Very, very important. Because we want to make sure you're not buying something that's going to fall apart within a year or okay. The other thing I can tell is when they bought it, how much they paid for it, and how much they owe on it. So I can run the numbers and see how much they're actually going to make when they sell that property. I can tell you what their equity position is going to be. Now, why is that important? Because if I know, because I've already done a market analysis, if I know that this number is too high, if I know this should be $200,000, that tells me that I got to subtract $15,000 off of that number. They're only going to make $2,000 on the sale of this property. Are they going to be motivated to sell this for market value? No. I also look at the occupancy. Remember I showed you how we look at occupancy and all that on the MLS printout? This one is actually tenant occupied. So it's tenant occupied and it's been on the market 4 days. This is going to be a very unmotivated seller. Someone else is paying their mortgage. It's only been on the market 4 days, and they're not making a whole lot of money on it. So I know that this is one I would probably trash, because this one is overpriced, and I can tell that the motivation just by looking at this is probably not there. Now we're still going to call the agent and figure out and poke around, but I can tell just by looking at the numbers here that this is probably not a motivated seller. Now, if this says vacant, and this says 170,000, and this says 100 days on the market, do you think we have some negotiating power there?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right. So these are the things that we look at to make sure that we're doing the right thing and we're getting the right properties. I have too many times in 2013, I wrote offers and they came back and said, well, we're just taking it off the market because they can't afford to sell it. So I'm like, well, I wasted a lot of time. My buyers fell in love with that property. I started doing this. So now I know exactly what the equity position is. I know everything about it. The other thing is I know who owns it. I can look up the owner and say, well, I know who the owner is. We'll go into LinkedIn, Facebook. We'll actually look up the seller and see what's going on. If they've already moved, they've had a job transfer, I know that we do have more negotiating power. If they're in the military, we know that they're probably moving on orders. They're probably going to be more willing to take a military member's offer, even if it's a little bit lower, because they know who they're selling to. So when I'm looking at the ownership, we can look this up. If I know that they've moved somewhere else, I can actually ask the agent, say, well, so tell me about your sellers. Are they motivated to sell? Like, well, they don't really have to sell. If I know they've moved to Boston, Massachusetts, I know that agent's probably not telling me the truth. So I also know the caliber of person I'm dealing with. If they say, John, this person's moved out, we need to sell it. Get us an offer and we'll make it work. Now, all right, that's good. The other thing I'm going to do is when I'm in the house and we look at this property, we're actually going to call the agent on speakerphone and I'm going to talk to him and you're going to listen to everything that we say. So you're actually going to hear what I'm saying and what he's saying. There's nothing hidden. It's all transparent. If he says, give me an offer, I'll do it. Make it happen. I know we have negotiating power. If he doesn't answer, then I know that's typical because most agents never answer their phone. I don't know how they sell a home if they never answer it. But you're going to hear exactly what they're saying. If they say, hey, well, there's 4 offers, you got to be at least at $510,000 to be competitive, then at least you're hearing that on the phone and there's no he said, she said. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Huge benefit. You guys can hear exactly what the agent's saying. You hear some really good agents, not too many of them, but they'll say, hey, just do your best. Or you'll hear some agents who are like, oh my God, we got to sell this thing. Just send us an offer. We'll take 400. It could be listed at 480. So again, all different levels of professionalism in agents, but you're going to hear exactly what they say. Good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I love showing this because this is an example. This is a typical offer submitted by an agent. I went ahead and highlighted in yellow all the things that are wrong with this offer because this is an offer that I received on one of my listings. So this is a formal and a legal contract. It's filled out incorrectly. There's scratch outs. It's handwritten. There's a lot of stuff that was left off here that's just 100% incorrect. This was a VA buyer. This is a military buyer, just like you guys. Their agent is just one of those agents who maybe does 1 or 2 transactions a year, so they're just not really experienced. But again, I highlighted in yellow all the things that expose their buyer to financial loss. That could have been a financial problem. That could have lost them money. There's a lot of stuff in here. One of the things I always laugh at is they even got my license number wrong. I don't even know what that number is. It's a copy and paste, and they got that wrong. So if they're going to get something that's that small wrong, that's that easy, what else are they going to do wrong in the transaction? When we submit an offer, it will be judged by the seller and by the listing agent. So when we put an offer in, our offer process is totally different. So we've already spoken to the agent before ever going out and showing the home. We've spoken to him in the house and prior to writing the offer. So we've already had 3 conversations with him. When we submit an offer, it's completely well described of what we're doing, why we're doing it, what are the benefits of our offer. We write a cover page on the offer to make sure it's completely, they know everything that they're getting. We submit a letter to the seller that actually tells the story of who you guys are. Now, why is that important? This guy over here is a veteran, I know, because he's using the VA loan. This guy could have been a wounded warrior, double amputee, Navy Cross winner. I didn't know anything about him, only the fact that his agent was an idiot. I'm going to tell your story because in a competitive market like we're in right now, you need to be a competitive offer. We need to tell your story so they see you as a family, who you are. Why? Because most sellers have an emotional attachment to this home. They've lived in this home for many years. They've maybe brought their children up there. That there's memories that they have associated with. They're going to want to know who they're selling the home to. So we're going to appeal to the right brain of the seller. Now, some sellers, they don't care anything about the house. To them, it's just an investment. So that's the left brain seller. We're going to appeal to the left brain of the seller by showing them these are just the digital numbers. This is their FICO. This is their combined income, debt to income ratio. Just so they see a snapshot or executive summary. So this is for the left brain seller. This is for the right. You love the home. You've lived in it for 10 years. You want to know who's buying it. You just want to know that they can buy your house. So it breaks down the quick snapshot of numbers of what's important to that seller. Now, the things in here are all things that have prevented a home from selling in the past. People have lost their job. The income's too low. These are all the things that have killed sales in the past. These are all the concerns that a seller and listing agent has. We just address them in the very beginning up front, proactively. So make it an easy solution for them. We also attach your pre-approval letter. We put that in so they know without a shadow of a doubt you're fully pre-approved and ready to go. Proof of funds for the down payment and for the deposit, we put that, attach it to, so they know this person's ready to go. They have the means, the financing, the money, everything is right there. We're essentially showing them the money. They know that you can move forward. We attach our history so they know that we know what we're doing. Again, that's important. They don't want to work with an agent who's going to submit something like this in there. So they know that we do a lot of business, and then our offer is completely typed out. Everything's filled out correctly. Nothing is left blank. Everything is done the right way. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The other thing is condition. We're going to get you a termite inspection. There's 6 inspections that we typically get in a home, especially in an older home. If it's not older, we don't do all these, but for your case, we're probably going to think it's an older house because it's going to be in one of those neighborhoods and it's going to be a bungalow. So there's 6 inspections that we're going to make sure get taken care of. You'll have to pay for some of these. Some of them are free. First one is a general home inspection. A home inspector is going to go through that house with a fine-tooth comb. He's like the general practitioner doctor. He's going to look over the whole home and then call stuff out that he thinks a more qualified inspector should look at, like a specialist. So we'll do a general home inspection. It costs you about $500, $450 to $500. We're going to do a roof inspection. That's about $100, $150. A roof inspector will come out, look at the roof, make sure it's put on correctly, and you'll know that it's in a quality roof, and they'll give it what we call a certification. Say, hey, I certify this thing for 2 years. Foundation inspection, that's a free one. The foundation inspector will come out, look at the foundation, and make sure there's no issues with it. If there are issues, he'll call them out and tell you these things should be done. Electrical inspection, we want to make sure the electrical is completely taken care of and in good shape. Termite inspection, make sure that it's termite free or call out all the termite issues with it. So those are the 6 big inspections that we will make sure. I'm sorry, that's 5. There's one more. The pipes. We will get a pipe inspector to run a scope down to the pipes to make sure there's no clogged pipes, there's no decayed, broken pipes aren't leaking down below the house, that they're not fouled by root intrusion, that they're not destroyed, and they're not damaged. So that's about a $250. We usually get the seller to pay for that. Sometimes we don't. So it's one of the most important inspections you'll get. The last thing you want is to move into your house and then 3 days later there's raw sewage coming up when you're showering. Happened in the past. That's why we never do that no more. Now we always get a pipe inspection to make sure that it's completely free, and if it's not, then we'll get the seller to pay for it. Hydrojet it, rotor root it, whatever we need to do, or replace pipes. Very, very important to your success. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. So this is an example of a termite inspection. This shows you a home that had a whole lot of termite issues on it. The buyer of this house did not, their agent did not ask for termite work or a termite inspection. We had it. They didn't even know about it until we're about to close escrow. They never wanted it. They never asked for it. We sent this to them, and they were pretty shocked. Like, we didn't know about all the termite issues. Their agent didn't negotiate termite repairs in, so they were exposed to about $5,000 worth of termite damage that they would have had to pay for if they wanted it termite free. We're going to make sure that's all pre-negotiated, termites taken care of, no issues for you guys. Termites are not a good thing for a house. Obviously, you guys know that. The other thing is a home inspection. Now, our home inspector is going to go in there. He inspects the home. He's going to bring an infrared camera that he shines on the walls. So essentially, we can tell temperature differentiation behind the wall. So you can see minute changes in temperature, which is important because that indicates there's cool spots behind the wall. That could be organic growth, mold, mildew, water, damage, whatever. Very, very important. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to shine that first. It's so sensitive, you can literally, I can touch the desk, put my hand up, he'll shine it, and you can see the heat dissipating. Very, very sensitive piece of machinery that makes sure you're not getting anything that's hidden behind the walls you don't know about. Then he's going to indicate every single minute issue with that property, no matter how big or small. We're going to review this with you. He's going to go over everything. Minor leak, gaskets missing. You're going to go through every single issue, no matter how big or how small, to make sure you're not getting a property that's in bad shape. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions about what we've gone over today?
Nope.
So,
Sounds like we have a good realtor on our hands.
well, this is all. You may have bought a home or talked to realtors in the past. This is all the stuff that we do for you. I don't know what those other guys or other gals talked about, but moving forward with us, these are all the things that we will do with you and for you to make sure you're protected. The only thing we ask for is your loyalty, that you work with us and we work with you. So, any questions so far? We'll get you guys a search built here in a second, and we'll get that rock and roll and get you over a lender. But is there any questions before we move on? I would love to retain you guys as clients. If you would like to retain us, I would love that ability to work for you guys. Do you think we're okay to handle a sale for you?
Yes.
Great. So here is our buyer-broker agreement. This is basically lines out the agreement between you and I that I work for you and only you, that I am a fiduciary agent working on your behalf to protect you. It also says that you don't owe us any money, you don't pay us anything, because we're paid by the seller. So this is our retainer agreement. Once you go through that, we'll start building a search for you, and we'll get you locked on and a search built.
All right.
Right on, thank you.
All right, you can kill the list.
Boom.